Hello everyone, and welcome to this Installation Options Overview lecture. It's now time to get your system set up with Python and Spark in the Jupyter Notebook system. This section has lectures covering 4 main installation options, and you are free to choose whichever one you want and works best for you. Or if you already have your own personal setup with Spark and Python, you can basically feel free to skip this entire section. All of the installation options will work on any operating system. So if you're on a Windows, a Mac, or a Linux computer, all of these installation options are going to work for you because we're either going to link you online to a Linux-based system, such as a Amazon Web Services hosted notebook, and you just SSH into that instance, or we'll use VirtualBox to set up a Linux-based system locally. Or if you're on Linux already, you'll just follow the directions. So let's explain why we do this and why we focus so much on Linux-based systems. Realistically, Spark won't be running on a single machine. That's basically the whole point of Spark. Your data is so large that it no longer fits on a single machine, and you're going to need to run it on a cluster on a service like Google Cloud or Amazon Web Services. And these cluster services will pretty much always be on a Linux-based system. So while you yourself are probably going through this lecture and going through the exercises on one single machine, realistically, you're going to be running it on a cluster of machines, and all those cluster services are pretty much always running on a Linux-based system. They're not running Mac OS or Windows. So understanding the very basics of setting up something through a Linux command line is really essential to getting Spark going in the quote-unquote real world. So we're going to be going over various options that are based on Linux, instead of showing you how to directly install Spark on a Windows or a Mac, because employers and really the real world is really focused on Linux when it comes to Spark, which makes sense because if you're running it on a cluster, it's going to be on a Linux-based system. But to be clear, all of these options will work regardless of your operating system. So they're Linux or Ubuntu based, and they're going to work either locally or through an online connection. So don't think like, oh, I have a Windows computer or a Mac OS, this course isn't going to work for me. All of the options that I'm going to show you, the 4 of them, will work regardless of your operating system. The 4 methods we're going to be covering are setting up Ubuntu, Spark, and Python on a VirtualBox on your local machine, having Amazon EC2 with Python and Spark, showing you a company called Databricks, which has its own notebook system, and then also showing you the Zeppelin notebook system on Amazon Web Services Elastic MapReduce. Now note, this one's not free, but let's dive deeper into each option so you can choose the one that's best for you. So Ubuntu on a VirtualBox. So this option is going to set up a VirtualBox on your local computer, and this works with any operating system, and it's going to walk you through having Ubuntu, Spark, and Python all installed locally on this virtual machine. So you'll open up either Windows or Mac or Ubuntu, and you'll click on this little VirtualBox, and it's going to act like a virtual computer that's running inside of your computer. Then there's the Amazon EC2 with Python and Spark. And with this installation process, we'll walk you through setting up a free micro instance of Amazon Web Services of EC2, which you can then connect to online through something known as SSH. And this falls under the Amazon Web Services 1-year free trial limits. So it is a micro instance, so you're not going to be able to actually run any big data on it because we want to keep it free, although you could expand the instance to go beyond micro and have it be a large instance, but keep in mind you'll have to pay for that. So in this installation lecture, we'll just kind of show you the free limits, and if you want to expand more than that, it's basically just a drop-down menu where you click on a larger instance size. And then we'll also show you the Databricks notebook system. Databricks itself is a company founded by the creator of Spark, and currently they have a freely hosted notebook platform. They also have a paid version that supports a variety of Spark APIs, such as Python or Scala or Java, but it's a notebook system that's freely supported on their platform, and we'll check that out and walk you through how to set that up as an option. And then finally, there's the Amazon Web Services Elastic MapReduce notebook option, which runs on Zeppelin notebook. And the AWS Elastic MapReduce platform allows you to quickly set up clusters. But note, this is not a free service. I think the minimum you have to pay is $1 an hour, but it does allow for a really quick setup of a large cluster. So we will walk through this, and this EMR notebook does have the ability to connect to an Amazon storage instance on S3, and we'll walk through that, but keep in mind you will have to pay money, you'll have to supply your credit card to actually follow along with that installation lecture. Alright, so jump to the curriculum page and choose the installation lecture you prefer. You don't need to go through all of them. Personally, I would recommend the VirtualBox, that way you can run everything locally, but it's really up to you, whatever works best for your needs. Okay, and one last note, Really, don't feel restricted just to these 4 options. The code we work through will work on any platform that has support for Spark and Python, and we have both the .py files and the notebook files for you. So if you already have something that runs Spark and Python and just needs those .py files, those are in the zip file notes. Feel free to use them. You don't need to use any of the options we described here. But I would recommend that you check out the virtual box to get everything set up locally if you don't have that sort of setup yet. Alright, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. We'll begin autoplaying through the installation lectures, so I would recommend you click on that curriculum tab and jump to whichever lecture you want, so it doesn't seem like you have to go through all of them. And leave yourself about 20 to 30 minutes for the setup, depending on which one you're doing. Some are much faster than others, like the EMR MapReduce one. It's actually really fast, but you do have to pay for it. The VirtualBox one, which is the one I recommend, does take a little bit of time to make sure you go through all of the steps in order. So make sure you have enough time to actually walk through everything correctly. All right. Thanks, and I will see you at the installation lectures.